Hey friends, Joe Edelmann here with a sort of unscripted behind-the-scenes look at one of my new favorite guitars. This is my Squier Classic Vibe Starcaster. I got this a couple years ago and really loved it ever since I got it. You know me that I play a lot of Squier guitars on this channel. You know, I have some really excellent Fender guitars and Gibson guitars, but I really appreciate Squier, you know, especially what they've been doing lately to make affordable guitars with classic designs, some of the more off the beaten path designs like the Starcaster, which obviously is just another form of my loving tribute to Johnny Greenwood, one of the most famous users of the model, as well as just, you know, for me, I'm a fan of the Gibson 335, you know, the semi-hollow style guitar, but I'm also a fan of Fender and of offsets and maple necks, and so I really like how this blends, you know, the elements of the personality of a Fender with, you know, a hollow body style guitar. It's extremely light. The neck is extremely thin, which is usually not my preference. I tend to like a chunkier neck, but it's very comfortable. It's a really comfortable neck and excellent work, you know, with the frets. It's very smooth. For a $300 or $400 guitar, it's, you know, it's really excellent. The only things that I have done to it recently, which is new news, is I did change these knobs for these sort of aluminum and black kind of look-alikes to the original Fender Starcaster knobs. They're not the exact ones. You can get original Fender Starcaster knobs, but they're outrageously priced. They're like $25 a knob on Reverb. So these ones I found on lovemyswitches.com, which is a really cool site for, you know, guitar pedal and guitar parts. And I really, most importantly, I just changed these pickups. So the original, you know, stock Squier pickups were sort of a regular humbucker in sort of a wide range humbucker looking style casing, but they were really just plain humbuckers. These are the modern Fender 2020 reissues of the wide range humbuckers with the CuNiFe or copper nickel iron magnets. It's really cool. The story behind these pickups: in the 70s, Fender asked Seth Lover, who is the famous designer of Gibson's PAF, or patent applied for pickup, to design them a humbucker pickup because they were, you know, competing with Gibson. They wanted to kind of have their own take on it, and they're pretty cool. And I won't get too much into the details of the design, but it sort of allows for a single coil type clarity, while also, you know, being a humbucker, so sort of a best of both worlds. I also changed the wiring harness to one from Gunstreet Wiring. Big shout out to Gunstreet Wiring in, you know, supporting me with the order and making sure, you know, I got exactly what I needed, kind of customizing the spec to 1 meg potentiometers, which is what was in the original Starcaster, which is, you know, a pretty high value. Usually the potentiometers on humbucker guitars are like a 500K, like you'd see in most Gibsons. Fender was using a lot of 1 meg pots at the time in the 60s and 70s. You could see them on Jazz Masters and other guitars. It's going to let a lot more treble content through than a lower valued potentiometer, which also just helps to the clarity and the brightness and the kind of power of these pickups, which is really cool. So yeah, and then, you know, the only other thing, I had the harness and the pickups installed, and I also had the folks at Russo Music, my local shop, install a bone nut. The Squier came with sort of a stock plastic type nut, or imitation bone, I think they sometimes call it, but really just kind of a plasticky nut. And so yeah, it's just, you know, didn't necessarily need it per se, but just adds a little bit to the clarity of the notes, especially, you know, obviously the open string notes. But yeah, it's an awesome guitar. I really love it. I'm loving how it sounds. You know, to be honest, I think it sounded great even before the pickup mod. I think the stock pickups were very good for what they were. And again, the you know, the build quality and sound quality is excellent for the price, and which why I think this is a total sleeper guitar. And Squier has been, you know, doing great things with the classic vibe and even their, you know, affinity line lately. So props to Squier for sure. But that being said, with the, you know, the kind of authentic wide range humbuckers in it, it's an amazing sound, really clear and powerful, you know, humbucking sound, but also with that top end that I really love hearing. So I did have the foresight this time to record some samples before I changed the pickups in the guitar, and then after, with sort of the same song examples into the same setup. I'm running my Vox AC30. I'm in the normal channel with the bright switch on. That's how I tend to usually run it. And for some of the distorted examples, I'll kick on the Earthquaker Devices Plumes pedal, and I'll show you some of the settings that I have for that. So I'm going to run through some Radiohead song examples right now on each pickup. I'm going to try and do, you know, some sort of strummy examples, some picking examples, and some examples with gain, just to show you how the pickups, both before and after, respond in each of those scenarios. So let's take a look. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you thought the comparison. I'm really happy with these new pickups. Again, thanks again to Sean from Gunstreet Wiring for walking me through, helping me pick out the harness and helping me with the installation. And also to the folks at Russo Music with their work on the guitar. I'm just really excited to play this thing. You'll see it pop up in more covers. You'll hear it pop up, if not see it, in some original songs. And I think again, that characteristic that I really like is a brightness, especially on the upper strings, that kind of top end chime to a humbucker. I think is really cool because in some of my Gibson guitars or in humbucker equipped guitars, the thing I don't like is if there's just too much top end loss and it feels a little too muddy in the low mids or too kind of woofy, and I'm not getting that bark or that bite that I'm used to from Fender, from maple necks and from single coils. And so I like that this guitar and these new pickups particularly bring a lot more back of that clarity and that bell-like response. I think the neck pickup especially, it's really rich, and I don't know, something about maybe the stagger of the pole pieces. On the low strings, you're really capturing, a lot of those deep lows, and on the high strings, you get more of that brightness. It truly is wide range in that sense, right? You're kind of covering a very broad gamut of tonal spectrum just in one pickup, and across the two pickups, you have a lot of different sounds. It reacts really well with the gain. It's not too ice picky. I think one of the common complaints, and I hear some people just don't really gel with 1 meg potentiometers because they can be excessively bright in some situations. I have 1 megs with my Seymour Duncan antiquity pickups on my Jazzmaster, and I think what that really forces you to do, but I think is a good thing, is to use your tone knob more judiciously. So on that Jazzmaster, I'm almost always rolling tone down to 5, and if I need to go, for an extra cut or extra bright sound, I can come up, and if I need to roll off even more, get jazzier, I can roll down. So there's a lot of, it gives you a lot more options, I think, even though, you have to maybe tweak it a little bit to get it right. With this guitar, though, even with everything on 10, which, throughout I just kind of left everything wide open, I don't think it was excessively bright. And I think that's because deep down these are still humbuckers, and due to the nature of a humbucker, the 2 coils in series, you're going to roll off a little bit of top end, but you get it back with, the way that these pickups are voiced. But enough of my yapping. Totally recommend this guitar to anybody who's interested in semi-hollows. They're really fun to play. They're great practice guitars because they're obviously pretty loud without an amp. Anybody who's interested in the Starcaster shape, whether because of Johnny Greenwood or all the other awesome players, Leo Nascitelli from the Meters or Dave Koenig from the Killers. There's a lot of great Starcaster players that it's a lesser known guitar, but I think it should be wider known. And yeah, it's a great buy. And even if you don't get the pickups, I think the Squier pickups were really passable. They did a good job as well. But I'm still happy that I underwent with this mod. So that's going to do it for now. Stay tuned for more covers, original songs, gear breakdowns like this, live streams. I had a lot of fun with you guys a couple weeks ago on the live stream. I'll definitely be back with some more topics or for Q&A, things like that. That was super fun. But yeah, for now, be well, and I'll see you guys soon.